Hey, today I came out here to address the allegations against Matthew Flavell and Roselou Warren Flavell. So it's gonna be a long story. In fact, it's gonna start in 2017. So as I remember, back in 2017, I remember Roselou's Warren's kind smile. She was very kind. She was grateful. I was excited to meet her. Now, what my father said I was disrespectful towards her. I was not disrespectful towards her. I gave her all my gratitude. I gave her all my respect. In fact, I was very kind. And I remember that exact moment to this day. And he goes on saying how I was disrespectful and how I slapped her. I did not slap her. I was there for that moment and I saw no one slapped her. In fact, everyone was kind. If anyone would slap her, I would definitely remember that. But no one slapped her. If you saw what my father said in his video. Anyways, continuing on. When she moved in, things just started out loose. And worse than before. She changed attitudes, like personalities. She wasn't the same person anymore. She's different. Like, horribly different. I can't remember when it's the first time she hit me. It was a long time ago. It was a long time ago, and I started to see signs. She became more stricter than usual. She became more hurtful than usual. And bringing these moments, realize how truly bad she was. So, let me explain. During the apartments, she's a little bit strict. She started hitting with the belts at first. Started hitting us, making it stand straight for 24 hours. And she hit us one time with a wooden plank. She made us face the wall for 24 hours. And now you might think, oh hey, that's not a bad punishment. But when you're staying there for 24 hours without food or water, it is. Yeah? Okay. So that keeps happening. And I'm starting to lose trust in her. I gained trust in her when she first came in the house. But now, I lost all my trust. Now, when we moved, it just got worse. We moved to Titusville, Florida. Ah yes, I still remember that place. I still visit sometimes. Titusville, Florida gives me bad memories. Because I grew up there for 6 years. And those 6 years reminds me of the 6 years I was abused by my own stepmother, who I hate, and I should not be calling her stepmother. But you know, that's a short name that would be there for a little while. Anyways, as soon as we moved, the punishments started getting much worse. She forced us to clean for 24 hours. No food, no water, no breaks. She gives us a whole lot of chore lists. Over 50. And if we don't complete them in time, we get a whooping to our butt. And it wasn't like one or two. She did 100. Yeah. So she did 100 belt whoopings. And at that point, I lost all my trust for her. Now, at one point, she gave me a phone. I think it was an iPhone 9 or 10. I don't know, I can't remember. But it was a very small phone. and I was using it to make TikToks, and I wanted to send help, but she was always watching, and I couldn't. So Matthew, or Rose, they had a phone. They gave me a phone for contact. I used that phone and I texted Jason, which is my current stepfather. Very nice. I texted Jason, like, I want to get out of here. I don't want to be here. And they found out, and they took away that phone, and I've never seen that phone ever again. Yeah. And the punishments start to get worse. She started to hit me. She started to slap me. She started to choke me. She hit us with wooden planks. At one point, it was morning of school. I don't know what happened that morning that got her so mad that she threw me in the closet, and I was crying to let her out, and I was crying for me to let her out, for me to let myself out. And she came in and started hitting me across the face, hitting me on the head. At one point there was a U shape of a belt marking on top of my forehead, and I had to go to my Catholic school, St. Teresa Catholic School. Yeah, that's my school. I had to say I was hit by a doorknob by my own sister. And I was too scared to tell anyone or DCF about this story because I feared that she would absolutely murder me. And so there was this one point, weeks before we moved in, or months, I don't even know, she locked us in the room. She took all our toys, all our beds, all our clothing, everything. She took it away. She put it in her closet, locked it up, and threw some stuff out. And we were left in there with no food, no water, no proper hygiene, or no using the bathroom. And I had to sleep on the dresser while my sister slept on the floor. So, yeah, she put us there for like a week at most. Well, probably less than that. But I was in there for much longer than my sister. My sister was able to get to the freedom early. My stepmother always favored my sister the most. She brought her out. She brought her to the Crayola factory in Orlando, I think. And they brought her to good stuff. Meanwhile, I had the worst stuff. She apparently got let out early. I don't know. I think I remember it was about good behavior. I had good behavior as well, but still, she just let her out. And I remember that very day, it was raining, and I saw them leaving to go to a fancy restaurant in downtown Titusville. Now, there's something I must include. My sister tried calling help to the neighbors. We were friends with the neighbors. She opened the window and started yelling for help. We were starting yelling for help, like, help me please, call 911, we're trapped in here. And I just remember her at that window. And of course, Rose heard it, and starting hitting her so many times, and I couldn't watch it. Then she comes to me and she said, well, you better not tell anyone. Yeah. So it was crazy. And then punishment started getting much worse. We had if we miss a tiny speck of dirt in the kitchen counter, we would get stuff thrown at us. My sister got thrown at by a rice cooker. I remember that moment where the camera footage was shown, and I saw my sister begging for mercy, not the rice cooker being thrown, but it was still thrown. I remember this one time I was standing at the back of the wall. The wall was green, and I was by the staircase leading down to the basement. Roselou put a knife to her necks. The knife was like right here. It was on both of my sister's necks. The knife the sharp end was facing my stepmother. The back end was facing us. And so she pressed it on us. And she told us to work and don't give up. Now, it's gonna be very uncomfortable when I say this. I was 11 in 2021. And I remember Roselou would come into the shower with us and help us clean, even though we knew how to clean after all these years. And I didn't really like that. And that really made me weird when I think about it to this day, because when I was a kid, I never knew what it meant. And it was weird. But she didn't do any bad things. That's the good part. I remember, now my father is changing topics on his video and saying that we were bad. No, Roselou made us bad. She made us horrible. In fact, he says, we try to give you a good childhood. No, you gave us the most traumatic childhood we ever experienced in our lives. You married the devil and called her sweetheart when she's not sweet. In fact, she is Satan himself. And, to address that, why don't you step in our shoes for 6 years straight and find out how awful our lives are? And you're now hosting charities, adopting kids, and getting money out of nowhere when you got fired from your own job. How are you getting this money? Are you trafficking kids? Are you dealing drugs? Surely there's gotta be some way to it. And I know your wealth thing isn't gonna last long, because once everyone finds out in your village knows about what happened in the States and how you had 4 kids in the US and you have 4 kids in the Philippines, and you're probably treating the eldest son, who is 5 years old, horrible. What are they gonna know? They're gonna know a lot. And in fact, they're gonna call you out. Your neighbors know, everyone knows, and soon you'll be fleeing whatever now. And so you better count your days, Matthew and Roselou Flavell, because one point everyone will know about this, and yeah, everyone will know about this. So let me continue on this story. So anyways, I remember the day I was rushed out of that house. Oh, actually, let me get to the very top. Roselou ran away. She knew what was going on. In fact, she denies it to this day. She lies and she lies and she lies. Lies all the time. That's how narcissistic she is. How she really is. And she keeps dragging herself into lying. And she said she was guilty in court. She said she was guilty for child. That's how she knows it's real. Because we have so much proof and she doesn't. Who's gonna defend her? No one. Because I was the victim. My sister was. My brother was. My other brother was. She was a horrible person. And she still treats us like shit to this day. Hosting all these charities, getting all this money. Where is she getting from? We may never know. In fact, she's very great at brainwashing. And so I refuse to believe that. Because at one point, she brainwashed me. She brainwashed my brothers. She brainwashed my sister. At one point, it took me a day to persuade my brother back into believing that she was a bad person. Now, I'm not sure about my older brother. I haven't seen my older brother in 4 years. So it's been a long time. So anyways, continuing on the story. I remember I was rushed out the house by my father. My father didn't want anything to do with us. He hated us. He didn't want anything to do with us because we reminded of our mother. And he hated my mother. And so he started blaming things on my mother. He started blaming lots of things, saying, oh, she sent my nudes. Yeah, I don't care. That's not true. You still have to court with her. Anyways, getting on. I was in the back of the car. I was headed to the CPS facility, something like that, to get me tested. When I showed them my legs, my arms, my fingers, they noticed I had scars on my fingers because at dinner time, when I was forced to eat, if I didn't finish, I get poked with fingertips, with forks, my bad, with forks on my fingertips. And she would press down so hard. And the last scar I ever had was on my finger. When at the point she went deep so far. And it was the last of a scar, and there was a scar on my pinky as well. They examined me, they showed me bruises. I had lots of bruises on my legs, on my back, on my head. And it was really a really bad time. At one point, Matthew rushed us out. I remember seeing the house for the last time in the back of the CPS car. And I knew that I was finally free. That I would get out of here. That I would finally breathe for once. That I will finally have my chance to escape and never return back to that hurtful place again, ever in my life. And if I had one thing to say to them, if I was still right now, I'd say, you should rot in hell. Because all the trauma, all of the cost of the PTSD, the flinching, everything, that's what they cause. And that's what made me lose my trust for many people. It made me become a different person. I don't want to even talk about this, but I had to, and I felt like it was the right moment. So, bye. Thank you for hearing my story.